Hey everybody, it's Robert with the Secret Wine Society, where it's our job to bring you everything strange, wonderful, and amazing from the world of wine. Tonight I've got a very special guest. You guys probably recognize this guy, this rascal. He's back again, MacKenzie from American Northwest Distributors, and he's got something very special for us today. What is it?
Well, we are tasting some delicious Spanish wines.
Life's really hard, isn't it? So, a Spanish lineup. They're all three from Spain.
All three are from Spain. 3 different areas in Spain, some of the top wine-producing regions in Spain, and they all offer incredible value, and they're all special in their own way, and that's why we wanted to feature these tonight.
Okay, so we've got quite the lineup here. So we are going to go from lightest to biggest. And that doesn't necessarily mean starting and going towards the best or from the best. We don't know yet.
No.
But we're going to find out. They might all be equally wonderful or amazing with their own particular traits, just like people, right? So let's start here. So what do we have? This is Bierzo.
This is from Bierzo.
I'm going to let you do the honors.
All right.
There you go. Bring our camera woman up here.
So this wine here, Castro Ventosa, is from Bierzo in northern Spain, right on the ocean up there. And this is made from a grape called Mencia, which is the local grape in the area. What makes this wine really special is the producer. This producer here, Raul Perez. If you've never heard of him before, homework assignment, go home, look him up. He is the man in Spain.
He's a rock star. Okay,
Yes.
Let me interject for a second. I will tell you, when we first opened this shop, I started seeing this guy's name over and over again. And the more research I did, you realize he is a rock star. He won greatest winemaker in the world. And this guy's not very old, right?
No, he's very, very young. He's in his mid-30s now. He's only been making wine for about 10 years, and it's amazing when you see someone that young win that many awards.
And his whites are incredible.
His whites are incredible. Yes, they are.
Now this one, you said this particular property is interesting for what reason?
Yeah, so this is the oldest property in his family. He comes from a winemaking family, so his family's been making wine for many generations, and this is his original family's property in Bierzo. And this particular bottling here is from his oldest vineyards that have been in his family for 7 or 8 generations now.
Okay, this is what, 2017, I believe? Yes, 2017. All right, so this is 100%. Now, the grape is actually spelled M-E-N-C-I-A, but you say that's Mencia.
Yeah, Mencia.
Okay, let's get
Little
that
lisp.
right. All right, so it's 100%, right?
Yes, it is 100% Mencia.
Okay.
It's Mencia as a grape is similar to Cabernet Franc. It's a juicy red, a little bit lighter, a little bit higher toned with some good acid on it, and it brings some of those black pepper notes that you love with in particular red meats. So it's
Remember that
quite
Vitalos that I drank back in the day? Stephen Tanzer described it as racy, and he was so right. The acidity's great, just high toned, really beautiful wines, but let's see what this thing is doing.
Yeah,
I'm really
please.
excited to try it because A, you have this wonderful grape that I love and Raul Perez, so how can we go wrong? Yeah, it's not super dark. It's a really beautiful color. I mean, this is a nice, very elegant looking in the glass. It's hard to tell with the Dawn's artificial lights that we have blasting on us, but it's a nice, pretty ruby color, maybe a little bit purple. Hard to tell.
Yeah, it's purple, maybe a little bit of tawny at the edges there from a little bit of the aging.
So do you remember what treatment this has gone through?
This does age 12 months in oak. He has another bottling that ages just 6 months in oak, his Hoven. This wine ages a whole year in a combination of French and American oak.
Oh, I can tell you right now, this nose is amazing. It's refined, but it's got a little bit of smoke. It's got earth, but it's very, very beautiful. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a beautiful nose.
Yeah, it really is, and it has a really nice brininess to it that reminds me of a Spanish olive called Castellvetrano olives.
Those
and
are the
I
green
think
ones.
those
Those are my favorites. They're buttery.
Mine too. Yeah, and I think this wine would pair really nicely with some Castro olives.
It's a little spicy too. I mean, this is wonderful. I mean, you can tell it's very well made. That's the one thing. You can tell this wine's extremely well made. You don't even need to taste it. You can tell this person really knows what they're doing. Now, would you decant this?
Yes, I would decant this for at 30 minutes at most, 15 minutes. Pouring it in a glass and letting it open up for a good 5 to 10 minutes is another way to let it open up a little bit. But this wine definitely does really well with a little bit of oxygen. It really opens up and it starts to...
Get some Gabriel glasses like this. You know, it's built like a little mini decanter. It's kind of the whole thing. Yeah. Anyway, sales pitch. All right. Cheers.
Yeah, this, cheers.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing these.
My pleasure.
And I want to try this. That is absolutely ridiculous. The texture is just wonderfully textured. Wow.
Yeah, it's grippy. It's got really good grip from the tannins, but the tannins are so fine and so smooth. You cut through the tannins like butter, but they're there. They're still grippy.
Yeah, he nailed it. So it is. They are incredibly fine grained. They're kind of light in some way. They're so fine grained that it kind of coats everything, but it goes away. It's not like leaving me all puckered like this. That's really, really nice. It's extremely well made. It's a beautiful, beautiful, voluptuous wine. I like this a lot.
Yeah, you can tell extreme care was taken in the cellar while making this wine.
Now, what would you pair this with? Pork loin, something like that?
Yeah, and I think aged cheeses would go really well. Aged cheeses, Castro olives. And it would go well with winter meals as well, like roast beef, roast chicken.
It's nicely balanced. It's got a great acid, super nice, super fine tannins. The fruit's there. It's just all dialed in. This is a lovely, lovely wine.
And it's got a lot of energy.
Yeah, it does. Well,
Ton
that's
of energy.
It's like vibrant in some way, racing vibrant. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna kind of let this sit aside and see if it opens up. We'll kind of come back to it in a
Absolutely.
minute. But this is really, really, really nice. Love that wine. Okay, so let's move on.
Yeah,
this
moving
guy
on
over
down.
here, that's a home run. So far so good. I'm gonna get 2 more glasses. Okay, we're hiding here. All right, so now, Miss Camera Woman, let's see what we got here. So you've brought us a Rioja Gran Reserva.
Yep, Gran Reserva.
Okay, so there are some regulations or laws in Rioja that determine what a Gran Reserva. There's certain requirements you need to meet. So what would those be?
So in order to label your wine as a Gran Reserva in Rioja, the wine has to age at least 5 years, and 2 of those years have to be in oak. So it has to age at least 2 years in oak and 5 years total. So if you age it 2 years in oak, 3 years in bottle after that.
And you could do 3 in barrel and then 2 in bottle, something like that, if you wanted.
And you could even age it longer than 5 years. So
right, that's the minimum.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
So this wine in particular, it aged 3 years in a combination of French and American oak, and then it aged another 5 years in bottle before it was
Holy cow.
released.
And this is 2009.
2009.
Okay, so we were talking earlier before we started shooting. One of the benefits of drinking a wine like this is it's already aged for you. This is ready to go right out of the box, or the bottle in this case. I mean, some of these wines are massive and they're not really ready to drink when we sell them to you. I mean, we try to get them, or I try to sell you ones that are ready to go, but you know, some of them that are very current, like this coming guy, actually might need a little more time, but this is ready to go.
It's ready to go. Yeah,
Now,
it's aged.
price-wise too, tell us about this wine as far as the price point.
Well, so drinking Gran Reservas, usually minimum price point is going to be around $30 to $40 to find a nice example,
easily,
and that's minimum. You're going to spend minimum $30 to $40 for a Grand Reserva
Correct.
to find a good one, usually. So when you find a Grand Reserva that's $20 or below, that delivers it.
Back up the truck, because some of these on the shelf now are $100 or close to it. They're worth every penny, but this is killer. I mean, for the money, this is an absolute. If you don't know what a Grand Reserva should taste like, or you're curious, obviously you don't want to pony up $100 for something if you're not going to really understand what it's doing. Start here. This is absolutely fantastic.
And with Grand Reservas, winemakers are going to choose the best barrels to age. So not only are you getting a wine that's been aged a long time, that's ready to drink right now, that you don't have to cellar at all, it's also the best fruit from the property. So you're going to get a really good wine when you get a Grand Reserva.
Okay, so these have Tempranillo in them, but they can have other grapes, right?
Yes, they have to be at least 70% Tempranillo, but they can have other grapes blended in as well. So this particular bottling is a blend of Tempranillo, Garnacha, which is Grenache, but in Spain, and a little bit of Graciano.
Graciano. Okay. Well, I say we get right to it.
Yes,
so
please.
Let's try this. Again.
And this wine, I would definitely recommend decanting it for at least 30 minutes, an hour. Really is what you want to decant it for it to really start to open up.
Now, what's surprising to me is I've had quite a few Grand Reservas, and a lot of times they'll be a lot more brown or tawny in color.
Mm-hmm.
This is really holding up well as far as the color is concerned.
Yes.
It's just surprising to me. 2009, I would expect this to be a little more rust colored, maybe. I mean, the color's holding up great.
Yeah, it's holding up beautifully, and that's why Wine Spectator gave this wine a score of 93 points. It's great wine.
Oh, that smells great.
Yeah, if you've never been able to enjoy a red wine that's been aged at least 10 years, it's really quite an experience. A wine starts to show you different notes that you won't find in wines that don't age at least 10 years. So it's really something special, and it's something everyone should try at some point.
What I like are these nice leather notes, like a fine aged leather. It's hard to describe, but it's really, really pronounced here.
Yeah, really what I get from heavily aged Grand Reservas is it truly starts to show off its bouquet. It's very, very perfumed. To me, this wine smells like crushed dried flowers, almost like a potpourri.
Agreed. And you know, the funny thing is, as long as this wine, okay, so it's been in barrel a long time, but you don't get all this oak jumping out of the glass. I mean, you could have something barely aged at all that's got a ton of oak, like Chardonnay, some of these like, you know, domestic cabs. This is different. So you wonder, are they used oak barrels, or what is it about the oak treatment here where it's just not jumping out of the glass like an oak monster?
No, they use new oak. Some of the Grand Reservas that age only in American oak are going to have more of that oaky flavor. American oak tends to add more oak into the wine than
So
French
they're
oak.
using French oak typically.
They're using a combination of both here, and I
Okay.
think they're doing that to get what you're talking about, is that balance of fruit with oak. How the oak isn't overpowering, and it's just a complement to the wine as opposed to the main flavor profile.
Okay,
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah. Great acid.
Great acid after 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, the fruit's still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's got miles to go. This has got years to go, actually. This is just getting started. But it really needs food. I mean, I love acid in wine, but this has got all the components to really, you want this with food.
You do, and you want this with roast. You want this with roast beef, roast lamb, something that you're going to cook a long time in the oven that's going to have lots of caramelized notes on the...
Yeah, really to make this shine, you need some food, but I mean, it's wonderful. For $20, you could open this midweek, and it'd be great.
Yeah, and even after 10 years, it still has so much energy in the glass. It's so vibrant, it hits your palate and just explodes. It's really something you should experience at these older 10-year-old wines.
One more time. say right now, for the price point here, that's out of this world. That's called a back of the truck wine. So
Yeah,
that'll
it
be
really
in the
is.
shop soon. You guys haven't tried a Grand Reserva, highly recommend it. All right, so moving on to the big boy.
Here we go.
Now,
Abadia Retuerta.
I have a story about this wine.
Okay.
Okay, so I was living in Hawaii, and I started going to this wine shop called Tamura's, and they have the best poke on the island. He goes down to the market every morning to get fresh fish, but it was a convenience store, and he kind of figured out that people started. This is probably 15 years ago when wine was starting to become big in Hawaii. So he basically converted this little cheap convenience store into a wine shop. And so the stuff was scattered everywhere, and I used to go in there and look around, dig through these shelves, but I found a bottle of this, and I'd never had it before, and it intrigued me, and I looked at it, and I can't remember the exact date on it, but it was about 8 to 10 years old, sitting on their shelf, right? And I'm like,
So you
this
found a
is
little
really
gem.
good. It was the literal dusty corner, dusty shelf way in the back. And I bought it, and this is probably the bottle, and everybody's got this story of like what wine did it for you, but the way this thing exploded out of the glass, it was literally just hitting its stride and its peak at that time, and I got super lucky. But I was stupid because I told the guy that worked there how great it was, and he sold the rest of it. So I only got that one bottle, but it was killer. So I've always, and I actually tracked this down. It's actually how we met, or one of the ways is I was like, do you have this bottle? I was trying to track this bottle down everywhere because I needed it on our shelf because I wanted to share it with you guys. So tell us a little bit about these guys.
Well, Abadia Retuerta is one of the oldest wineries in Spain. Wine grapes have been grown here since the 12th century. And they still have the original monastery on the property. They have since rebuilt it and turned it into a national monument in Spain. Everybody knows about Abadia Retuerta in Spain. It's somewhere that everyone tries to get to at some point.
It's like
a destination.
Destination wine resort type thing now. They have a restaurant. I mean,
Yes.
you can go to their website or on YouTube. They have videos. I mean, it's an operation, like a really high-end operation.
Yeah, 5-star hotel, Michelin star restaurant. Be a great place to get married, honestly. It's really a beautiful property.
But they're not resting on their laurels. I mean, the wine is amazing. It's not like, oh, look at our beautiful place and the wine's like an afterthought. No.
They really got their name from wine. And this producer really puts Ribera del Duero on the map for being a top area for making Tempranillo-based wines.
And this says Sardon de Duero. So this is a sub-region in Ribera del Duero.
It's a sub-region, in Ribera del Duero.
Okay, this is a 2014. And I wouldn't drink this any sooner. I mean, even now, this is going to need a decant. So
Yes.
what grapes are in this?
This is mostly Tempranillo, just like Rioja and Ribera del Duero, the main growing.
And they've got Cab Sauv and Syrah.
Cab Sauv and Syrah in this blend.
So what does that tell you right now? You already know this is going to be big, right? So Tempranillo is like 75%. Tempranillo 75, Cab Sauv 15, and Syrah 10. Now I opened this about a year ago, and it took a while to unfold, but just you get massive chocolate on the nose. So I'm interested to see if that's still the case, another year in bottle.
Yeah.
And I am hiding this, actually. It hasn't been on the shelf because I've been saving it. I've got a couple of cases laying around. If you're interested, you need to talk to me personally because it's not going to be on the shelf. I'm kind of waiting to kind of sit on it, see how it develops, and we'll sell it to you guys when the time is right. Like, what was that? Paul Masson, remember those Orson Welles ad? Paul Masson will sell no wine before it's time. Yeah, I'm going to even these out because I'm just
Thank you very much.
really wanting to try this. So,
One thing too that's a little bit different. So Ribera del Duero compared to Rioja, it's much hotter here in Ribera del Duero. So fruit is going to get much riper, a little bit higher in sugar. But Ribera del Duero has much cooler nights than Rioja. So those cool nights help maintain acidity. It'll be a bigger than a Rioja, more fruit, a little bit less acidity, but it's still that's the difference you'll find.
And they don't have the same rules. You don't see a Grand Reserva from this area, right?
No.
You don't have the same rules in place about the oaking or whatnot. So it's going to be depending on the actual winery and what they're doing in house. But actually, to be honest, and this is a secret between all of us, I actually prefer Ribera del Duero wines. I mean, that's just me. I love them. So there's a few we have over on the shelf over there, and I always drink those. I mean, I love Rioja, don't get me wrong, but this is where it's at, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's much juicier style. There's much more fruit on the palate. It's definitely a crowd-pleasing style, and it's a wine that you can enjoy, and it doesn't need food. This is a red wine that you can drink completely on its own. It doesn't need to be drunk with a piece of meat.
Well, the other thing is they're not limited to the style that Rioja has. There's a little more free reign to do some interesting things.
It's true as well.
Let's try this. This wine is massive. I mean, it needs time still.
The fruit profile is like a dried fruit profile. It's like dried
Getting like
plums.
chocolate cherries.
Yep. Black cherries though.
Yeah.
And like very, very ripe cherries as
Oh.
well.
This wine is still massive.
And yeah, right around that fruit, you get this beautiful layer of not so much like a milk chocolate, but like a dark chocolate, almost espresso.
I get like a cherry cordial type thing. I get liqueur.
And I get some sarsaparilla as well, almost like a root beer sort of note to the wine as well.
Oh, this thing's got miles to go.
And bergamot as well, almost like a.
Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of opening up, so I would probably do a 1 hour decant on this minimum.
I would as well. Yep.
Open this thing up, let it go. It's very fruit forward right now.
And if you don't have a decanter, that's okay. If you have any sort of glass pitcher at home, that's totally fine. Pour the wine in the glass pitcher, let it sit for 30 to 45 minutes. If it's not a pretty pitcher and you don't want to serve the wine from that pitcher, you can pour the wine back in the bottle. I've done that tons of times. I've decanted wines in plastic pitchers before and then poured them back into the bottle. So if you don't have a decanter, don't go out and splurge and spend a bunch of money on a decanter, but please decant the wine.
Yeah, they look pretty, but it's not necessary. Just use your old Kool-Aid pitcher.
Right? Yeah, you can use
I see what you mean about the acid. It's got wonderful acid.
wonderful acid.
I mean, the fruit's great. You know, the funny thing is, I get more fruit on the nose, but then when you actually taste it, it's got so much other stuff going on.
It does. Yeah, it really
that
does.
it's not as fruity as the nose might make you think it would be.
Yeah, and this wine, out of the three that we've tasted so far, I would say is a little bit more mineral driven. It really has a really strong mineral backbone to this wine, layered in with the fruit and the chocolate.
But I'd say, yeah, if you're going to drink this, you need something big with it. Something that, what do you think could handle this wine food-wise?
Oh, you know, I think a really, really heavily aged cheese, a really heavily aged manchego would stand up to this wine. If you're gonna eat meat with it, it's gonna need to have a lot of sauce with it as well. So not just a roast or a grilled meat. It's gonna need some sort of barbecue sauce, some sort of pan sauce to go with the meat. But yeah, we would pair it with a variety of roasted meats with sweeter sauces.
My suggestion would be buy one of these now, decant it for an hour, but buy one for your cellar. Because I can tell you this is going to get much, much, much better than it is now. There's a lot hiding in there, you can tell. I'll tell you what, also keep in mind the price point. Now, this wine is not much north of $30, and for the quality, Robert Parker, love him or hate him, he said this is one of the best deals in Spain, and I believe him. For the quality, the size of this wine, the ageability of this wine, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's do a little research, look up Abadia Retuerta. They spare no expense in their winemaking process and who they employ. They're the best of the best in Spain.
Let's just
And then wine shows?
smell through these real quick, see if
Yes,
anything's
please.
changed, and then we'll say goodbye to everybody.
All right.
Keep this kind of short. Oh,
That brininess, right? Are you, is that the Menthia?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
almost getting like this nice like briar leaf. It's real. That's a very pretty wine.
It's very, very pretty.
This is the most beautiful wine out of the three. Like right here, if you are into just high style, that's the most well made and just dialed in. This is one of the best values. Now this would be the Rioja.
Oh wow, now that it's opened up a little bit.
That's gotten better.
So now it's starting to smell much more meaty.
Yeah. This one's changed the most. So now this one has changed a little bit for me, but this one's changed the most. Which you can imagine after it's been cooped up in these barrels so long. Oh, this is such a high-toned, pretty wine. This is my favorite.
Is that the Menthia or is it the,
But the nose has changed the most on this one.
yeah, it's got a real strong meatiness to the wine now.
Last but not least. I'm getting soy sauce now. I don't know if it's just me, but I get soy sauce.
It's,
Is it
whatever
me?
it is, it's delicious.
Is it me?
I
don't
got
know.
soy sauce out of the Rioja.
Wow. All right, I tell you what. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That
Thank you.
was, yeah, that
Yeah.
was a blast. So we're still in lockdown. We're making our lockdown pretty fun. I hope you guys are as well. And we look forward to having you guys back in the shop. We love all of you. It's much more fun to have you guys in here, rocking it out, having fun. Mackenzie can come down. We'll do another tasting once this ridiculous lockdown is over. But we want you guys back in the shop ASAP, and we are working hard to get you guys the good stuff. So, yeah, welcome back. So hit all the buttons here, and we'll see you guys in the shop. Love all of you, every single one.